did those feet in ancient times walk upon England's mountains green, and was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen, and did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills, and was Jerusalem builded here among these dark satanic mills. Bring me my bow of burning gold. Bring me my arrows of desire. Bring me my spear, O clouds, unfold. Bring me my chariot of fire. I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. Welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you have joined me today. Yes, we are honoring the beautiful, late, Her Royal Highness, Queen Elizabeth II, who lived for 96 vibrant years, serving her country for over 70 as the head of the state and the queen, the monarchy, and serving her people, also the head of the Church of England. I am so moved by her passing, as I know all of you are, because I think it is true that until someone passes, we really never fully comprehend the greatness of their life. And it is so important for that reason to honor those that have passed and to take a pause and recognize, so that we may better ourselves and glean from them the good and the contribution and their way of life that made it so beautiful for others. On the tea table today, I have so many things. I don't know where to start. I thought, how do I honor this beautiful queen who has been our queen? She's been my queen my whole life, and all of you. And it felt like she would never change. She was the rock of the British Empire, and she literally was holding things together. And that is very true when you study what she went through after World War II and organizing and being the head of the British Commonwealth of nations that were nations that had been part of the British Empire. And these nations still wanting to honor England for the great contribution she made to all of these nations, from education to bringing God's love and spirituality and bringing civilization, really, and the law and government and democracy and order and the possibility that people could be free and could live their lives in a manner that would give each one opportunity. And it's a long, long story, but let me show you my little tray that you can't see. And I chose my wonderful tea cozy today, and I'm going to take it off now, and I will let it set here so we can still see a bit of it. But on my tea tray, I have, very special things. This is a pot that has the kings and queens. It's Henry VIII, who, remember, was the father of Queen Elizabeth I. This queen was Elizabeth II, and he was also had, his wives are on here. He had many wives, and he, because of that, which was unfortunate for many of these wives, but what happened was, because of that, he was excommunicated by the Pope and would not be allowed to remarry. And so he made himself the head of the church and brought in the Protestant era, which then Queen Elizabeth I, it is known she was the one, the fairy queen that Shakespeare was writing under, and under her reign the Geneva Bible came out, which then eventually became the King James Bible. But so many incredible things happened under Elizabeth I, and that was the beginning of Britain going on the seas, Sir Walter Raleigh and all the ships, and going around the world and establishing colonies, trade. That's when we got coffee. That's when we got tea. Yes, when these ships went around the world. And so this little pot, and I have chosen a special tea for today. This is one of my favorite brands of tea, and I get it at Barnes & Noble's. You can get it other places, but I want to read you the name of it so you know. It is Harney & Sons, and it's a new one. It's Victorian London Fog. You see that? And it has the most interesting flavor. And then I found this is a cup that I treasure, I think, above all my teacups. This is, it says inside, Queen Elizabeth II crowned in Westminster Abbey, June 2nd, 1953. That's what's written in the cup. And then here's her picture as a young girl with her flags and symbol, and on the back is her crown. And it's the most beautiful green. I'm so fond of green. And so if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause and get your tea, and I will be waiting for you. So I'm going to pour out. Oh, this smells so fabulous. It is, I don't know how to describe the smell, but it's called London Fog. Let's see. Victorian London Fog tea. Now, I thought I want to make this tea talk so special in honor of Queen Elizabeth II that I brought out my best. This is my best tea or coffee pourer, and it has a sugar and a creamer, and I put the cream in here. So I'm going to give a little pour of milk, and I decided I would use this little Henry VIII pot because this reminds me of pictures I've seen of Queen Elizabeth in her palace, Windsor Palace, having tea. She had a little pot she would have for herself. So should we try it? I don't know what the flavor. I really don't. It's an Earl Grey mixed with vanilla. I don't know. Oh my, it is absolutely stunning. It's one of those special. So I'm going to put this down, and then I'll show you what I have on the tea tray for our treat. Queen Elizabeth was very disciplined, and she would have her afternoon tea, and then she had a small treat with it, or a bun. But these are cappuccino wafers and little ginger cookies, ginger boys. And I thought this just reminds me of something light that would be served in England. And I love this little tea tray that I have. It has feet on it. And I love when a tea tray has feet. And then underneath I have a trivet that is protecting my tea table. My tea table is really special. You can't quite see the top of it, but it is a beautiful wood, and it has a pull-out. And then I thought, I went around my house looking for things with Elizabeth on them, and this was a tea tin that was done in commemoration of, I believe this was for, yes, part of her Jubilee. And it's a beautiful little tea tin, and in it, oh my, this smells wonderful. This is Queen Elizabeth tea from Murchie's. And then I brought another trivet that has the royal seal that I like to use at different times. These trivets are very practical. They protect your table from a hot teapot, and the lion and unicorn are on that. Now that beautiful song that I opened with, Jerusalem, many call it the national anthem of England. And we all know God Save the Queen, which is truly their national anthem, and was written, I discovered, before we adapted that tune to My Country 'Tis of Thee. But it is England's because they had it in the mid-1700s. I believe it was under George II, not George III, the bad king that we were fighting against. It was George II commissioned someone to write, and it's a beautiful, that's God Save the Queen. But Jerusalem, that I just read to you, is a poem that was written by William Blake. And then it was adapted by a composer named Perry, who put it to music. And he's talking about England and the ancient sod and the ancient soil, because the roots of England go back to the time of Christ. And there is a big museum in southern England. Joseph of Arimathea, who was Jesus's uncle, the one who gave the tomb to Jesus to be buried in, there's a museum to Joseph of Arimathea because it is believed he came to England. And there is a lot in the King Arthur legend that alludes to him and the 12 Knights of the Round Table, almost like, you know, Jesus and his 12 disciples, kind of a take on that later. Of course, it was later, but it's a fascinating story. And so some people have surmised because there was so much travel between the Holy Land and England, Joseph of Arimathea was in the tin trade. The tin mines were up in Wales, and they would come down to southern England and then barge it down to, well, the Middle East and the Holy Land and all over. And that is where he made his wealth. And so for the first 30 years of Christ's life, no one knows really where he was other than the story of him at the age of 12 going to the temple. And so some people in England think maybe he traveled there as a young man. No one knows. It's lore. But Joseph of Arimathea did actually end up living there after Jesus died. And there is a huge monument to him in southern England. Well, and so that's what that song is about. And that song, Jerusalem, they call it, has become the national anthem of England. It is sung at every soccer game, and they call it football, of course, but it's soccer to us. It is opens and closes many events, and if you watched the movie Chariots of Fire, that was part of their theme. They were playing that, and the word Chariots of Fire is in that song. And that is actually a biblical term. I believe it's from a psalm. But anyway, I thought I love that song. I want to share it with my tea people. You can look it up, and there's many renditions of it. And it's called Jerusalem, the national anthem of England. Well, I thought I would wear pearls for the Queen and a hat, and I wore a brooch. I have brooches, but I often wear them in the center, but she always wore them on the side. So I'm wearing that for her. And, you know, I have a very special handbag. Now, it isn't exactly what she would carry, but it looks like about the size. And it is made in London. It is Radbury of London. And it is a beautiful, beautiful purse. It is actually deep, deep blue velvet. I'm actually kind of wearing it. That's what I'm doing. I have the shoulder strap on, but you can put the shoulder strap inside and just have it be like a purse, like this, like the handbag the Queen carries. And this is a deep, deep blue velvet. Do you see that blue color? It's deep blue velvet, and it has gold stars and like planets, and it's called, the name of the design was Starburst Planets. So that's in gold. Now, I'll tell you the story of this purse. This was my purse I was going to use for my son Samuel's wedding. He and Alexandra had a wonderful wedding planned in Southern California a few years back. And Sam has always had the color of blue. He's born in September. He has blue eyes and blonde hair. So yellow was his color in the blue and September. And so I just felt this royal blue and gold was so perfect. Well, COVID came and everything got closed down. And my daughter had arranged all this beautiful music. My children were going to do a string quartet, and they had worked. It was difficult music Alexandra had chosen. Victoria had all the parts. They had all the reservations. And COVID came, and it had to be canceled because it wasn't allowed to have a wedding. And her dress, Alexandra's dress, got locked. David's bridal, it was being fitted to her, got locked up for months. Couldn't even get her dress out. And we all know about that and the COVID. So this is the first time I've used this purse. And it's very special to me. And I'm going to really say this is in honor of the Queen Elizabeth. And it's a wonderful brand from England called Radley. It's Radley of London. Radley of London. So, and she would carry often a purse this size. Now, I often feel that we look around for people that we can really look up to and that have gone before. And I do that a lot in my church history studies. I love to study these great people that overcame so much and were able to achieve. And I feel like that is what Queen Elizabeth represents. That through all her many trials and difficulties, she kept a smile. She didn't complain and she didn't explain. And everyone says it is attributed to her deep faith in God. When she took the vow to be queen, she was dedicating her life to God and her people. And she trusted that he would take care of her. And so she was a woman of great faith and great trust. And I used to love her Christmas messages. They were always so beautiful and hopeful. And she lived up here. She rode above she didn't get down in the political conflicts and the pettiness of life. And she unified. She didn't divide. She brought everyone together and was able to somehow just with her smile, with her wave. And the reason she wore bright dresses was so that people could find her in a crowd. And if you evaluate her life, it was a life of complete service to others. And her husband Philip understood that when he married her. He was also royal family from Greece, and he had suffered. Their family had had to flee. He, as a little baby, was taken out in an apple crate box. They had to flee because the war was happening and raging, and there was a revolution in Greece. His father had been king, and they fled and lived on a boat and all kinds of circumstances. So these people, though they are royal and look so wonderful, they've gone through a lot also. And he was very dedicated to the nation and to her and to the family, and he gave his all. And we all know about him. He did so many great things to help so many people. And this is what I see the message coming to all of us from Queen Elizabeth is, don't be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. And as we've talked on this tea talk, when the lemons come, turn them into lemonade. And I looked around my house for a few other items. Well, I found this in my garden, one of the last roses I have of summer. And it's a beautiful apricot peach color. And I'm putting this on my very special, most special tea set for Queen Elizabeth. And then I found this. And I remember getting this in Canada. And this was 2003. And this was for her 50th. This was her 50th anniversary. This was a mug we got. My husband and I were in Victoria. And then this was for her 25th anniversary. She kept having celebrations and anniversaries. And then this little tray, this is so little. This is so special because this was for the original inauguration. Just a little, you can use a little dish. If you see a dish like this, you use it for soap, for all sorts of things on the table. And I just love every little piece. It's not a lot, but I also have something very special that I'm going to show you. This is a bouquet of flowers. And I think I told you I played the organ for an Episcopal church. I'm not an organist. I'm a singer. And I play piano and guitar, and I've led children's choirs, but organ is a whole nother level. Well, she couldn't find anyone, and she begged me. And I said, oh my goodness, okay, I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to do it on faith. And it worked. I was able to do it. I'm thankful for the organists that are really trained, because you're doing three things when you play pipe organ, and the foot pedals are tricky. But I was able to do some of them, most of them. Well, this came to me delivered from the flower shop. And this was their appreciation gift to me. And what it is, it's a teapot. Do you see the pink lid and a little bluebird singing and yellow roses, and pink carnations, and then the blue flowers. And it smells so good. Well, I think this is perfect also for Queen Elizabeth. Somehow I'm thinking yellow roses for her today, and that we honor her. And teapots are truly what she would have had every single day. But I just thought this was such a kind, beautiful gesture for them to send that to me. I am so grateful. And this is the Queen. This is a calendar that I've had this year, and it's paintings of Queen Elizabeth. And it was for her Jubilee. They did this special art, and it's all inside were all different paintings of her. Let's see if I can show you. This is really cute. It's a different kind of art, but it's very sweet. And this one is really nice. You can see. And I can't show you all of them, but I just think that I wanted to honor her, and so I'm putting it right there for today. And what I want to really say is, God bless England. What a country. What a great, well, the UK, United Kingdom, England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Everything we have has come from them. You know, our law and our democracy, we are really based on the British common law, which was based on the dooms of Alfred, and which went back to the Mosaic Code. And the greatest thing that England gave the world was habeas corpus, that you're assumed innocent until proven guilty. Now, we assume that everyone has that, but they don't. Under Roman law, you were guilty until proven innocent. There's quite a different world there. And England was under Queen Victoria, which was in the Victorian era, you know, the 1800s. England, around them, grew an empire. They were not really trying to make an empire. They were doing trading, and they had gone to the east, to India. They had gone to Asia. They had gone to Africa. David, the missionaries actually were going, he was a missionary doctor who went and explored Africa and went to the inside and actually mapped Africa. No one knew what the inside of Africa was like before then. And that's an incredible story to study. But he opened up Africa. And so then the British missionaries would go and they would do three things. They would start a church, start a school, and open a hospital. And because it seems like so many of the missionaries were medical people. In China, it was Hudson Taylor who went, and he was a medical doctor and did the same. And then it was William Carey from Ireland who went to India. And all three of these men, they taught the people how to read and write. If their language did not have a written language, they would translate and create a written language for the people and then translate the scriptures, the Bible, into it. And that's how India has this massive, beautiful edifice built to William Carey, because there were so many different linguistic ways of speaking in India. There were so many dialects and Sanskrit and this, and he was gifted, translated and established, and they honor him today. I knew people at my college from India who said William Carey is honored as the greatest. He gave so much to India and Africa. I mean, there's the great story of Stanley, the newspaper reporter from New York, who went out to find David Livingstone. Nobody knew if he was dead or alive. He'd gone into internal Africa, but in those days, there was no way of communication. There wasn't even letters, but I actually just watched that movie, and it's fascinating. It's a movie with Spencer Tracy, and it goes right in, and I think it's Stanley and Livingstone, or is it Mr. Livingstone, I presume. Anyway, it's that famous line, Stanley goes through all this, almost dies, and finally finds him in a little hut, and he was sick, but that he had his whole group of native people that he was leading and helping, and Stanley comes in and says, Mr. Livingstone, I presume. And then he ended up staying with David Livingstone and working with David Livingstone. And then David Livingstone died. And the Africans loved him so much. They were so deep in their love. They said, we have to cut his heart out and bury it in Africa. They cut his heart out and buried it and sent his body back. And it's buried in Westminster Abbey. You can see it. And he was a geographer. He ended up mapping it out. That's how the British Empire grew. And then the British, they started doing trade and setting up colonies and colonial system. And then they would, even to this day, when you meet people from Africa, they're generally instructed in what they call the British system of education. Very well educated people, very well educated. My husband has had many in his class at the seminary where he teaches. They are top students, the best students actually. And that goes back to that British training, that wherever they went was a school, a church, and a hospital, and civilization. And that's what Queen Victoria, she said she wasn't trying to make an empire. It was just, they said the sun didn't set on the British Empire. Well, then the story goes, and I have the picture upstairs, a group of African princes and kings, they came to her Diamond Jubilee, which was her 60-year Jubilee. And they said, what is the secret of your greatness? And Queen Victoria handed them the Bible and said, this is the secret of England's greatness. Study, read, and go and do likewise. Isn't that beautiful? And I was thinking, Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth have so much in common. They both were made queens so young. Queen Victoria was younger than Queen Elizabeth. She just didn't live quite as long as Queen Elizabeth lived. 96 is amazing, but Queen Victoria became queen when she was just a teenager. And she said in her vow, I will be good. And she kept her vow, and she had a true love, Prince Albert, and they married and had children, and she had a wonderful reign. This queen, similarly, she met her true love, Philip, very young. She only had one true love, married him. He was a third cousin, and I think Albert was a third or fourth cousin, and married. And this Queen Elizabeth said, I give myself, as long as my days, I will serve you. That was her vow. And as long as my health allows. So these beautiful women who were so young and gave their vow and fulfilled their vow and gave so much to their own nation, to their own family, and to the world. This tea talk is going a little longer, but I'm going to close it out now with one thought that came to me today. I have so many thoughts about Queen Elizabeth. I had the privilege of seeing her on 2 occasions in person, and I do remember she had the most beautiful skin. She had a glowing quality to her, and her clothing, everything was flawless, and she had a twinkle in her eye. I saw the twinkle. They say she had a tremendous sense of humor, which is a key to everything, isn't it? But as I was pondering today, I thought, what the great thing about having a royal queen for all of us, and we that don't have royalty in our country, we take her as our queen too, is everyone belongs to her. Everyone feels they are a part of her. Because it's not an elected office where you have to believe a certain way to like her or to be liked by her. No, she's above that. She is bringing goodwill, duty, order, beauty, and God's love. And I started thinking, every time England has a great event, like a royal wedding or a funeral, or like her Jubilee, it all centers around either Westminster Abbey or St. Paul's Cathedral. So what does Elizabeth do, Queen Elizabeth? She invites, through TV, the whole world goes to church with her. Whether people have maybe ever been in a church themselves, they experience what it is to be in church, in a Christian worship service. And the Anglican form of service is so beautiful. It combines so much of the good of every denomination. It's a beautiful liturgy and a beautiful service. And the scriptures and the hymns are always outstanding. Isn't that wonderful? I think everyone is mourning her so deeply because she feels like one of our family. We all feel like she's part of us. I think that is a wonderful, wonderful gift. So I thank you so much for joining me. And there'll be beautiful programs. Don't miss them. I've had out-of-town company for 3 days, and so I have not been able to watch as much as I wanted, but I will pick it up later. And I want to fully embrace her legacy and partake of it and receive her beauty and take what she is giving to us of goodness, grace, mercy, and truth. Well, I hope you all are having a good September. I originally had planned a back-to-school tea talk, but we'll do that next time. So let's always remember, and this is the cup. I love this cup. This is so beautiful. I treasure this cup. And silver always reminds me of her. And when I was a little girl and I would see her royal blue velvet crown, it really is the royal blue velvet of the Radbury purse. So I feel like we've covered the color, the tea, the song, the beautiful song of England. And if you liked that song I played, just look it up online on YouTube, Jerusalem. And they will print the words out, many of them in front of it. Beautiful words. So let's have one more sip of tea, and to the memory of Queen Elizabeth II, a lady who gave us her dignity, her love, her faith in God, her kindness, and her good humor. Have a wonderful week, and I will look forward to seeing you next time.